qualify for ballot access. Each state does set its own requirements, and the process for collecting signatures and navigating the legal hurdles can be, as he mentioned, costly, upwards of about $15 million. All right, that's going to do it for NewsNation Live. Nick Smith is here in for Nichole today to pick up our coverage. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Marnie. Thank you so much. NewsNation Now begins now.
Attention all units. We've got an active fears activation at Perry High School.
Right now, breaking new details on that school shooting in the heart of Iowa. The latest on what we know about the victims, the gunman, and a possible motive this hour. Kids on the front lines. Alarming new claims that Hamas has deployed some of its youngest citizens to carry out a so-called campaign of terror. Stunning video out of a Las Vegas courtroom. What happened the moment a convicted felon attacked a judge at what had been up until that moment a normal hearing? A glamorous and lavish lifestyle reveals a chilling murder for hire plot. The abrupt fall for a couple who once shared the spotlight after creating a multi-million-dollar fantasy equestrian show. We begin this hour with more on that breaking news out of Iowa. We now know the shooter is dead from a self-inflicted gunshot after opening fire at a high school about 40 minutes outside of Des Moines. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Nick Smith in today for Nichole Berlie. The chaos erupting just before the first bell this morning on the school's first day back from winter break. We expect another update from police later this afternoon. But let's get started right now with correspondent Alex Capriello, who has been following the story from the beginning, and he has the latest developments. Alex, this was news that came into the newsroom and left all of us a bit stunned.
Yeah, absolutely. Breaking news situation from the beginning of this morning. Police say the shooter has been identified, but has not been publicly released at this time. That's something we're still waiting on. Agents from the FBI and the ATF are on scene assisting in this investigation, and we're awaiting another press conference that's scheduled for 2 p.m. Central. We hope to learn more about the victims and ID the gunman. Take a look at the scene from earlier today. Law enforcement from around central Iowa flooded Perry High School. We're told the first police officer arrived 7 minutes after that first 911 call and immediately located several victims. We're told at least 2 students and the principal, Dan Marburger, a man who has served the school for 25 years, have been shot. Here's a timeline of how it all unfolded. The first 911 call coming in at around 7:37 this morning, right before the first bell rang. 7 minutes later, that first police officer arriving on the scene. By 8:25 a.m., the middle school was cleared, and then 2 minutes later, the high school also cleared out. By 8:32, the nearby elementary school had been evacuated and dismissed. NewsNation's Iowa affiliate was on the scene within minutes. They spoke to one local who shared the heartbreak she feels with an active shooter situation happening at their local high school, which typically serves as a safe space for 600 teenagers.
And this community has gone through so much in the last couple of years. It's unbelievable that we're going through something tragic again, and we have leaned on one another in difficult times, and there's no doubt that we'll be leaning on each other again. And it's just unreal. You just can't, I've been saying all day that, you can't really wrap around something like this. It's just something you would never expect to hear from my tiny town of Perry.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds releasing a statement writing in part, "Our hearts are broken by this senseless tragedy. Our prayers are with the students, teachers, and families of the Perry community." Reynolds says she will be at the press conference later today. A vigil's also been planned for tonight at 7 p.m. Iowa time at the Crossroads Church in Perry. Stand by for more information on this breaking news event. Again, let's recap. The shooter now confirmed dead. Unclear how many are injured at this point, but we're hearing at least 3, and a press conference scheduled for 2 p.m. Central. Nick.
Alex, and at this time, we still don't know a motive, correct?
That's right. We're still waiting that information. Hopefully we get more of those details. Earlier today, law enforcement really tight-lipped, but obviously this is a very active situation and investigation. They want to make sure they get it right. Alex
Capriello with the very latest. Joining us now is Chief Christopher Vangeli. He was the Newtown, Connecticut police captain during the Sandy Hook school shooting back in December of 2012, and also went into the building that day. He's now chief of police in Plainville, Connecticut. Chief Vangeli, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
You know, it's not lost on me, even as I mentioned that, you know, it's not lost on me that we're almost, 12 years or 11 years away from the shooting in Sandy Hook, and then now another situation like this. What comes top of mind for you when you heard about today?
Well, first thing, my heart goes out to that community. You know, we know what they're going through. We thought the same thing. You know, with such a small community, it's unfathomable to think that something could happen there. And so my hearts and prayers go out to them. I know what they're going through. And the only saving grace at this point, if we can believe the reports that are coming out, is that the only person that is deceased is the shooter. So thank God that the other victims are still alive.
And with knowing that information, with only the shooter themselves being the one who is confirmed dead at this time, what does that tell you in your experience? That right now, without knowing all the details, is it one of those situations where it's clear to see that law enforcement was able to respond and act quickly?
Yeah, they apparently have some type of a shooting technology where, they can understand if there's a shooting going on. I'm not sure if calls came in through 911. I'm sure that they did. The officers got there quickly, identified victims. In half of these situations, the shooter commits suicide. So it's really a 50-50. And that's one of the things that, we encountered at Sandy Hook, is the shooter had committed suicide. And so that really keeps the officers, of course, safe, that they don't have to engage in a gun battle, which could, of course, lead to further loss of life.
And Chief, without making this, I guess, it sounds so perfunctory and so mechanical, can you just talk to me about how much this has changed you? Because I remember Sandy Hook, and I remember everything just stopping in that moment just because of the sheer shock of it. And it seems as though now, unfortunately, school shootings have become almost routine.
Yeah, it changes you as a person. One of the things I've always talked about is, there's, before 12/14 and after 12/14. And so when you go through something that traumatic, whether you were a victim, whether you were a relations with a victim, you were a family member, or you were the officer that was deployed to that scene, it's going to change you forever. It's a seminal moment in your life, in your career. And thankfully, I was from a community, just like I'm sure Iowa there, and Perry, where it's a very close-knit community, and they showed a lot of love, a lot of resiliency, and everybody leaned on each other. And that's what gets you through it, and that's what allows you to go away from a situation like that with the attitude that you're going to try to make the world a better place.
And Chief Van Gailey, before I let you go, one of the things we heard a witness on the ground say is that she didn't expect it to happen in her community. I don't know that anyone is ever prepared for a tragedy like this. Can you give us some parting words for those in the community who may be suffering right now because of the shock of this incident?
I think it's a lesson for the entire country that whether you're a small community, whether you're a large community, big school system, small school system, you still have to have, big preparations for an event like this. Nobody wants to believe that it could happen in their town and in their city, and unfortunately it does, and it will continue to happen. But by the grace of God, people can be prepared for it. Law enforcement had a great response, and like I said, my heart goes out to that community, and I know they're going to lean on each other for support, and they're going to come back stronger than ever.
Chief Christopher Van Gailey, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, giving us some words of comfort for a community suffering right now. Thank you, sir. Breaking news overseas, where ISIS, the Islamic State terrorist group, has claimed responsibility for an attack in Iran that killed nearly 100 people. The two explosions happened yesterday at a memorial for a commander killed in Iraq in 2020, resulting in Iran's deadliest attack since 1979. Correspondent Joe Khalil is live in Washington with more on this breaking story. And Joe, we now know a little bit more information about who was behind that attack.
Yeah, we do, Nick. It was widely suspected by American intelligence that it could have been ISIS responsible for it. Now that terrorist organization is themselves claiming responsibility, saying they did, in fact, perpetrate that attack in Iran. ISIS being a Sunni Muslim terrorist organization, the Iranian government being a Shiite Islamic republic. So the two have been sort of political and religious rivals and enemies basically since ISIS was founded. Now, on that attack yesterday, it was two separate bombings Wednesday in Iran that ended up killing 84 people and injuring almost 300 others. And you mentioned this was outside of a memorial service for Qasem Soleimani. Soleimani was a general, a military figure in Iran. He was the head of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And it was 4 years ago this week that an American drone strike killed Soleimani in Iraq. So you had a number of mourners in Iran, people who revered him, that were there trying to honor him yesterday at two different locations when suicide bombs went off. And again, now ISIS taking to their Telegram page and saying they committed it, even naming two people who they say strapped explosive devices to their chests and set those devices off. ISIS now calling those two martyrs. We just heard from the State Department during their regular briefing. Now, the spokesperson, Matthew Miller, commenting on this situation. Here's what he said just moments ago.
It's clear to us that this was a terrorist attack. We've seen the reports that ISIS has taken responsibility for it. I will say I'm not ready to offer a formal assessment from this podium at this time when it comes to responsibility, but this attack does bear all the hallmarks of an ISIS attack.
So, Nick, any moment now, just feet from where I'm standing, the White House press briefing is going to be happening. So interested to see whether they comment on this, on ISIS taking responsibility. I imagine we will hear something from the White House on this.
Joe Khalil live for us this afternoon from the nation's capital. Joe, thank you so much. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his way to Israel right now. This will be his fourth visit. The Biden administration is trying to quiet the rising tensions to prevent the conflict from spreading in the region. This comes as Hezbollah is threatening retaliation for an explosion earlier this week that killed a top senior Hamas leader. NewsNation's Robert Sherman joins us live from Israel's Lebanon border with the latest and the activity there. Robert, what are you seeing right now at the border?
Yeah, Nick, things have been very tense up here throughout the day. We're about 2 miles away from Lebanon right now, and throughout the afternoon and into the evening, we've heard Israeli artillery pounding southern Lebanon. You can hear the sound of Israeli fighter jets overhead. So this is something that is very constant here. I mean, to the point that most civilians here have left town. It's just that intense and that constant. What we saw earlier in the day today was that alerts went off around northern Israel due to rockets and missiles that were fired at Israeli positions. As a result, the Israeli Air Force coming back and bombing southern Lebanon, some of Hezbollah's areas, including some of their watchtowers, as well as some of their launch positions as well. Things have definitely gotten more tense here ever since that explosion took place just outside of Beirut on Tuesday. And Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, issuing this stern warning to Israel and their Western allies yesterday. Take a listen.
If the enemy thinks of waging a war against Lebanon, then our fight will be without services, without limits, without rules, and without controls. Israel knows what I mean. Our men, missiles, capabilities, our capabilities, and our threats.
And you walk around here, Nick, and you see so many bombed out buildings and homes that have been hit in recent weeks. Again, the streets are empty here. This is a town of 24,000. Almost all have left. And so many residents here telling us that they feel very nervous about this situation here.
Robert Sherman live for us on the ground there at the Israel-Lebanon border. Let's turn right now to the White House where a press briefing is underway talking about this incident. Let's take a listen.
School shooting. And the question that we ask is, when will enough be enough? The questions that families ask and the victims of families ask is, when will it be enough? When will enough be enough? Our students and teachers deserve to know that their schools are safe spaces and to focus on learning, not duck and cover drills. While the president and this administration have taken historic action to reduce gun violence, more must be done to keep our schools and communities safe. Congress must act to enact universal background checks, ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, require safe storage of firearms, end the gun industry's immunity from liability, and pass a national red flag law. We cannot allow these tragedies to continue. We have to do something. With that, as you can see, the Admiral is back with us in the room to discuss some new information we have today on Russia's pursuit of ballistic missiles to enable its brutal war in Ukraine and answer some questions on that topic. All right, Admiral.
Good afternoon, everybody. Over the course of 5 days around the New Year's holiday, Russia launched repeated waves of aerial attacks against Ukraine. These massive bombardments used drones and missiles to strike cities and civilian infrastructure all across the country. Strikes reportedly hit a maternity hospital, a shopping mall, residential areas, killing dozens of innocent people and injuring hundreds more. As Russia continues to launch these brutal attacks, the United States has new information to share about the support that Russia is receiving from third countries. Due in part to our sanctions and export controls, Russia has become increasingly isolated on the world stage, and they've been forced to look to like-minded states for military equipment. As we've been warning publicly, one of those states is North Korea. Our information indicates that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea recently provided Russia with ballistic missile launchers and several ballistic missiles. On the 30th of December, 2023, Russian forces launched at least one of these North Korean ballistic missiles into Ukraine. This missile appears to have landed in an open field in the Zaporizhzhia region. And on January 2nd, Russia launched multiple North Korean ballistic missiles into Ukraine, including as part of its overnight aerial attack. We're still assessing the impacts of these additional missiles. We're releasing a graphic here, which you can see behind me, that documents the launch of these missiles from Russia into Ukraine. And as you can see, the graphic shows the area from which Russia launched the North Korean supplied ballistic missiles on those 2 dates, as well as the impact location inside Ukraine of the missile that was launched on the 30th of December. And as I said, we're still assessing the impacts of the other additional missiles that were launched on the 2nd. We expect Russia and North Korea to learn from these launches, and we anticipate that Russia will use additional North Korean missiles to target Ukraine's civilian infrastructure and to kill innocent Ukrainian civilians. These North Korean ballistic missiles are capable of ranges of approximately 900 kilometers. That's about 550 miles. This is a significant and concerning escalation in the DPRK's support for Russia. Now, in return for its support, we assess that Pyongyang is seeking military assistance from Russia, including fighter aircraft, surface-to-air missiles, armored vehicles, ballistic missile production equipment or materials, and other advanced technologies. This would have concerning security implications for the Korean Peninsula and the Indo-Pacific region. We've also said publicly that Russia is seeking to acquire close-range ballistic missiles from Iran. At this time, we do not believe that Iran has delivered close-range ballistic missiles to Russia. However, the United States is concerned that Russian negotiations to acquire close-range ballistic missiles from Iran are actively advancing. According to press reporting, in September of 2023, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, hosted Russian Defense Minister Shoigu in Iran and showcased its Ababil close-range ballistic missile and other missile systems. This event marked the first public display of ballistic missiles to a senior Russian official visiting Iran since February 2022. More recently, in mid-December, the IRGC Aerospace Force deployed multiple ballistic missile and missile support systems to a training area inside Iran for display to a visiting Russian delegation. We assess that Russia intends to purchase.
That, of course, is National Security Spokesperson for the Council, John Kirby, wrapping up there with a press conference just talking about the latest munitions being given to Russia, supplied, he says, by North Korea, that they are getting aid and getting support for their continued assault on Ukraine. Let's bring in retired U.S. Marine Colonel Mark Cancian right now to just react to what we've heard right there. You know, Colonel Cancian, we had you on to talk about one thing, so many developments. I was not expecting John Kirby to stand there and speak at the podium, but I would love to get your reaction to what he's just shared with us about the latest conflict happening, of course, in Ukraine, but also the continued conflict happening in the Mideast.
Well, what we heard about North Korea supplying ballistic missiles is pretty significant. Ballistic missiles are much harder to intercept than the kind of kamikaze drones that Iran has been supplying to Russia. Russia, of course, is able to produce some of its own missiles, but because of the sanctions has not been able to produce them in the numbers that they want. Maybe even as significant as the missiles themselves is what's going the other way. That is, all of this technology and information going to North Korea will make them a more formidable opponent. They are, of course, unreconciled to peace on the peninsula, and for the future, that could cause a lot of problems.
Colonel Kansian, how concerned are you when we are receiving reports also that Ukraine is running low on munitions of their own, and that Mr. Kirby just said to us in that press conference there that he expects North Korea and Russia to learn even from some of the mistakes with the missiles and ballistic missiles that they're using now?
Well, and they have been learning. They have, for instance, used the missiles all at once to try to overwhelm the Ukrainian air defenses. They've attacked areas that are less well defended. And the Ukrainian air defenses are in danger because they need a continuous flow of missiles to keep them up to strength. With the United States aid now in limbo, those missiles are starting to run low, and over time, the Ukrainians are going to have a more and more difficult time defending their cities and their territory against these kinds of attacks.
And Colonel Kansian, once again, this is just another example on how there are so many conflicts happening around the world at one time that as Commander-in-Chief, you have to keep your eye on several balls. So I want to turn yours actually to what's happening in the Middle East. Why is it so significant that we now know that ISIS is claiming responsibility for this latest attack in the Mideast?
Well, it's not surprising. Even when the attack occurred, it was pretty clear that this was not the Israelis. The Israelis have carried out attacks in Iran, but they're targeted assassinations like what we saw in Lebanon a little earlier. They are not these mass casualties events. And there have been some of those in the past in Israel, also caused by ISIS and some indigenous terrorist groups. So what we heard from the White House is consistent with what we had been expecting. It does help a little, actually, in Lebanon, because keep in mind that Hamas is a Sunni group. Hezbollah in Lebanon is a Shia group. Although both of them are supplied by Iran, the fact that there's now more tensions there may make it a little more difficult for Iran to be as enthusiastic about supporting Hamas and having Hezbollah enter the conflict on their behalf.
Colonel Kansian, please expound on that, because one of the things that stuck out to me immediately was how Iran was clear that if they believed Israel or the United States were behind this, their retaliation would be swift, and they were quick to denounce the attack. But I've seen that they have not been as quick to respond now that ISIS has come forward with taking responsibility for this latest attack. Why do you believe that there's been a bit more caution in the vibrato from Iran?
Well, Iran understands the situation also. That is, that this is a tension within the Islamic community. They would love to have a narrative that they were attacked by the United States and Israel, but that's just not the case. They recognize it, and I think that's why they've pulled back a little.
Retired U.S. Marine Colonel Mark Kansian, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, sir.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Coming up, more than 90 names of Jeffrey Epstein's associates have been revealed. Who was named and what it could mean for future legal actions. But first,
in accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court.
Yeah, that looks like something straight out of a movie, but it was real life. A judge attacked during sentencing. We have details behind the now viral video.
Bill O'Reilly, tonight on CUOMO, 8/7 Central.
For over 25 years, Lovesac has been rewriting the rules of comfort. It's okay to change your style. Get messy. Get immersed. With Lovesac, you make the rules.
My most important kitchen tool? my brain. So I choose new Nariva Ultra. Unlike some others, it supports 7 brain health indicators, including mental alertness, from 1 serving to help keep me sharp. Try new Nariva Ultra. Think bigger.
Shingles. Some describe it as an intense burning sensation or an unbearable itch. This painful, blistering rash can disrupt your life for weeks and could make it hard to be there for your loved ones. Shingles can also lead to serious complications that can last for years. If you're over 50, the virus that causes shingles is likely already inside you. And as you age, your risk of developing shingles increases. Don't wait. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about shingles today.
What's my safe flight story? I'm a photographer, and when I'm driving, I see inspiration right through my glass. So when my windshield cracked, it had to be fixed right. I scheduled with Safe Flight Auto Glass. Their experts replaced my windshield and recalibrated my car's advanced safety system. Safe Flight is the one I trust. They focus on safety, so I can focus on this view.
Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace.
Veteran homeowners, need cash but worried you can't get a home loan because of your credit? Here's great news. At New Day, we've been granted automatic authority by the VA to make our own loan approval decisions. In fact, if you've had credit challenges and missed a payment along the way, you're more than 5 times more likely to get approved for the New Day 100 VA cash out loan. No one knows veterans like New Day USA.
Call 1-877-504-1098.
Why pay over $100 a month for cable when it's half the cost for Fubo TV? Get all the channels you want, with all the entertainment you love, for the price that cable can't beat. Try free at FuboTV.com.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats go way beyond just credit card fraud. Today's identity thieves can use your information in ways that are easy to miss by just monitoring accounts and credit, like opening loans, transferring home titles, even committing crimes.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and was used for criminal activity.
You can do so much with a social security number that I didn't know could happen. They drained my bank account. It was terrifying.
You're even more vulnerable than you realize. Your information is exposed through online shopping, banking, even corporate data breaches. No wonder there's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats all in one place, like someone trying to use your social security number, open a new loan in your name, or even commit a crime in your name.
There was a big yes button and there was a big no button. I clicked, that's not me, and LifeLock took it from there.
If you become a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will be assigned to your case and work to fix the issue on your behalf.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you.
All LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds, personal expenses, and coverage for lawyers and experts up to $1 million. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. With LifeLock, it's easy to help protect yourself.
I will be with LifeLock forever.
Join the millions of people already protected by LifeLock. And for a limited time, save 25% on your first year with promo code 25TV. All plans include a 60-day money-back guarantee. Call 800-710-7530 or visit lifelock.com/25TV to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
A 3-time felon was scheduled to be back in court this morning after he attacked his judge during his sentencing. We're now learning that today's hearing went on without him. It comes after this chaotic scene all played out on camera. You can see the defendant leaping over right there. He leaped over that bench and he grabbed the judge, even throwing punches. Several courtroom officials jumped in to help protect the judge. One marshal was injured in that attack. Correspondent Elizabeth Fran is following the latest developments and joins us now. Elizabeth, I think when we all saw that video, it gave us pause.
It is breathtaking. And now Deborah Redden is facing more than a dozen additional charges than he was already facing. And some of them including felonies. I have them here. They were just released by the court system. As you mentioned, he was not in court. But some of these are carrying at least a 2-year sentence when you look at the battery of a protected persons. Now, why that is important is because Nevada, just like in many other states, have protections for people who are judges or who are in the federal court system, who are employees. We've watched this video over and over again, and it is breathtaking. You can see him leap over the judge's bench. This is after the two had a conversation. She had denied his probation. He was, this particular sentencing, he was facing attempted battery with substantial harm. And he had told the judge that he was in a different mental headspace, that he had changed. This is a conversation that went back and forth. You can see here the aftermath. So we had a long conversation with Misty Maris. She has experience in and out of the courtroom. And she basically said that there are a number of safeguards in place, but this type of violence that you are seeing is certainly in the realm of possibilities. Here she is.
But it's not the first time that we've seen an outburst in the courtroom when a defendant gets bad news. We've seen it in cases where there's been convictions. We've seen it in similar cases where parole or probation is being denied. But there's safeguards in place in the courtroom. That's why there's such an immense amount of security and why everybody was able to jump into action, the police and court officers, in order to protect the judge from this attack. So this man in the courtroom violated statutes that are in place in Nevada called battery against a protected person. Now, a protected person under the law, it's enumerated. It's going to include judges, court officers, and police officers.
So Misty was really able to break that down, and that is the case really with every state. They're just different statutes. And according to a government website, U.S. Marshals Service protect more than 2,200 judges across the United States and 26,000 federal prosecutors and court officials nationwide. If you look at the history that Deborah Redden has, I mean, it goes back to 2012. He was convicted of assault. A year later, domestic battery, attempted theft in 2014. It goes on until 2013. So a number of run-ins with the law. Now, as far as injuries are concerned, the judge was just being monitored. This is the mugshot from earlier. But that court marshal who was protecting her that jumped into action did sustain some minor injuries, and he did get some stitches. As you mentioned, again, this court hearing today, he was not in person. Nick, back to you.
And Elizabeth, we looked at that video, and we literally saw him take air, and I think all of us were like, whoa, and it seemed to come out of nowhere.
Well, and you know what, Nick, I talked to Misty about that, and she said, keep in mind, he had to get through the people who were essentially close to him. So if you can imagine a court setting and that shot, so if you were looking at him directly, he is with officers. So he was able to break free. They may not have had hands on him, but he had restraints in place, and he was able to leap over the judge's bench. So when I talked to Misty, she was really astounded because she said, this is something that I have never seen before. There have certainly been violence in courtrooms, but for him to get through whatever barriers were in place and proceed to leap over the judge's bench is something, Nick, she has never seen before.
Elizabeth Fran live for us this afternoon. Elizabeth, thank you so much. Well, still ahead, Nikki Haley's success in recent polls is bringing in big bucks for her campaign. What that money could mean for her chance at unseating the current frontrunner. And more than 900 pages of court documents related to Jeffrey Epstein have been released. What we've learned about the disgraced financier's life, crimes, and associates.
Icy hot. Ice works fast. Heat makes it last. Feel the power of contrast therapy. So you can rise from pain. Icy hot.
They want you to change your name. Archie Leach doesn't cut it. Anything come to mind?
Cary Grant.
Cut! Cary Grant is a character. Be very careful about how he's perceived.
When am I gonna see Mother again?
No, please, I want to go home!
You know what's wrong with you?
No, what?
Nothing. So it's okay to have a silly child in real life, but in La La Land it makes you look ridiculous?
We're all pigs in this town, aren't we, Cary?
Eat delicious every day with the new Jenny Craig and feel great while losing weight.
I've lost 50 pounds with Jenny Craig.
Now Jenny Craig is delivered nationwide to your door and more convenient than ever before.
My meals are prepped for me. The Jenny Craig food is so good.
Get satisfying meals and indulgent desserts. The secret? Jenny Craig makes intermittent fasting so easy, we call it intermittent feasting.
The chicken carbonara, I just love it. The best part is you get dessert every single night.
With 10 hours to feast, delicious breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, overnight rest, and morning recharge bars to curb hunger. Lose up to 24 pounds in just 8 weeks.
I feel amazing. I lost 35 pounds. I lost 50 pounds. Woo!
Eat delicious every day and lose weight with the new Jenny Craig. Take advantage of our special offer. Get $40 off every shipment with promo code Jenny. Order now.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I feel free to bare my skin thanks to Sky Rizzy. I'm celebrating my clearer skin my way. With Sky Rizzy, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. In another study, most people had 90% clearer skin even at 5 years. And Sky Rizzy is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to.
Thanks to clearer skin with Sky Rizzy, this is my moment. There's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Now's the time. Ask your doctor about Sky Rizzy, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
For fast sore throat relief, try Vicks VapoCool Drops with 2 times more menthol per drop and powerful Vicks Vapors to vaporize sore throat pain. Vicks VapoCool Drops, vaporize sore throat pain.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for people on Medicare. Today we are talking about Medicare Advantage plans. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, and don't have a Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. You can call now to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Just call 800-979-1843 and a licensed insurance agent can look up your eligibility and plan options and see if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Part C plan that could save money or include additional benefits. Don't wait. You are not automatically enrolled in a Part C plan with additional benefits. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, call for your free, no-obligation Medicare benefits review. You won't know what plan options are available to you unless you call, so call now. The call is free. Call 800-979-1843. 800-979-1843.
Welcome back. We continue to follow that breaking news involving that school shooting just outside of Des Moines, Iowa. Alex Capriello joining me now. Alex, you have new information.
Yeah, the shooter has now been officially identified as Dylan Butler. He's a senior at Perry High School. The Dallas County Sheriff has not confirmed the identity, but a TikTok video surfaced showing Butler in a bathroom allegedly before that shooting. The sheriff did confirm the shooter has died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. NewsNation's affiliate reporting several victims are being treated at 2 different hospitals in Des Moines, but the extent of those injuries at this time are unclear. We can confirm at least 3 people were injured, including 2 students and an administrator. The Des Moines Register reporting it was the principal, Dan Marburger, who has served at that school for 25 years. We're awaiting another press conference, Nick. That's scheduled to begin at 2 p.m. Central.
Alex, I know this remains an active investigation. Alex Capriello live for us this afternoon. Alex, thank you. With the release this week of hundreds of documents related to the late Jeffrey Epstein, we now know the names of nearly 90 people who were in some way involved with the disgraced financier who killed himself in a jail cell ahead of a trial over sex trafficking charges back in 2019. Among those mentioned most often in the 900-plus pages unsealed by the court, prominent lawyer Alan Dershowitz, along with former President Bill Clinton and Britain's Prince Andrew. Correspondent Laura Engel is live for us. Laura, we have all these names now, but what happens next? Because I do believe that the names in and of themselves were salacious, but just being named in those documents doesn't constitute the charge of a criminal conduct, right?
That's right, Nick. And, you know, we have to remember these names have been in these documents and on the radar of investigators for many, many years. So while it is new to us, it's not new to them. But what is new is learning what was going on behind the curtain, so to speak, of how Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's world was operated and who was along for the ride. Now, the records unsealed yesterday are just part one of what is expected to be 5 document releases. It includes transcripts of depositions in the defamation lawsuit between Epstein's partner Ghislaine Maxwell and accuser Virginia Giuffre. And while the public digest the names on this list, last night it was like drinking from a fire hose. Many who knew they were coming out, others who were surprises, some of those names. We now have a response from Maxwell's lawyer about the document release. Her attorneys telling NewsNation, Ghislaine Maxwell took no position on the court's recent decision to unseal documents in Giuffre versus Maxwell, as these disclosures have no bearing on her or her pending appeal. Ghislaine's focus is on the upcoming appellate argument, asking for her entire case to be dismissed. She is confident that she will obtain justice in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. She has consistently and vehemently maintained her innocence. Now, we see through the depositions that were listed here that while many of the high-profile people who visited Epstein's luxury properties may not have known there was an alleged sex trafficking ring going on around them, the people who worked for Epstein gave insight into some of the operations, including taking underage girls on shopping sprees to buy them, quote, anything they wanted, and also being told to stay quiet. One employee told investigators when he left his job, Maxwell threatened him. A part of that transcript reads, I have to say something. Mrs. Maxwell called me and told me not to ever discuss or contact her again in a threatening way. And then when he was asked when this happened, the worker responded, right after I left, because I called one of the friends for a job and she told me she felt intimidated, so he wanted her to keep her out of it. Now, we are working on getting statements from some of those that were mentioned. Former President Bill Clinton, who is mentioned in the document several times, who is not accused of any wrongdoing, is currently in a small town in Mexico. We're trying to reach him. We'll bring you more as it comes to us in the newsroom. Nick?
Laura Ingle with the very latest. Laura, thank you so much. Turning now to the race for the White House, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is making big strides in fundraising just before the Iowa caucuses. Her campaign says they raised $24 million in the fourth quarter. That's more than double what she raised during any other quarter. The former UN ambassador has won some key endorsements recently and is now just behind Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in the polls. NewsNation's Brooke Schaefer has been following Haley's campaign and joins us live. Brooke, what is Haley's campaign saying about her latest surge of voter support? And they have to be feeling mighty good.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. You know, Haley's campaign, of course, very motivated by these numbers, right? In a big email push, Haley's camp said the bottom line here, Haley's rise is real and growing. The former UN ambassador announcing that her presidential campaign raised $24 million in the most recent fundraising quarter. That number is significant because it's more than double what she raised in the third quarter, more than triple what she raised in the second. So this fundraising surge for the former UN ambassador underlying that momentum she's seen in the polls. New numbers from Decision Desk HQ show Haley now sitting at second place nationally in the GOP race. Haley's campaign manager feeling good about this, saying this is a two-person race between Nikki Haley and former President Donald Trump, who has increased his attacks against Haley. An email blast just this week, the Trump campaign criticizing Haley's stance on the border, saying she wants an open border. Haley just last night responding to some of that criticism from the former president and her former boss. A NewsNation was at this event in Milford, New Hampshire last night with roughly 700 people in attendance. Our campaign embed calling it one of the biggest campaign events yet for Haley.
And President Trump's giving me some attention these days. I'm kind of flattered. I'm flattered because I know he sees what we're seeing, and that means we're surging, and he is getting uncomfortable. But every bit of that commercial and the temper tantrums that he's been putting out every day, every bit of it's a lie.
All right, going back to the money, the war chest of it all for a second here. Haley's campaign saying they also have $14.5 million in the bank right now. Our analyst at Decision Desk HQ saying that amount of money could put Haley in a position to potentially make a run if she outperforms in Iowa and New Hampshire. Haley right now is the first GOP contender to announce fourth quarter fundraising. So at this point, we don't have fresh numbers from former President Trump or Governor DeSantis's respective campaigns. But in the third quarter, we should mention Trump's campaign raised $45 million. That's more than triple Haley and DeSantis in the third quarter. So this $24 million raised by the Haley campaign, no doubt a boost for the former UN ambassador as candidates and groups supporting them really ramp up spending ahead of Iowa and New Hampshire, each just weeks away. But with this fundraising boost, Haley still has a long way to go in order to close that gap between her and the former president. Nick? And
in all of that, Brooke, we have seen the DeSantis campaign continue to switch out key players and lose money, and it'll be an interesting race to watch. Brooke Schaefer live for us this afternoon. Brooke, thank you. Well, coming up, a glamorous equestrian behind bars in a murder-for-hire plot. Who she tried to have killed and how much she was willing to pay. And
this guy has abused his power to force his woke immigration agenda on the American people.
Yeah, our own Allie Bradley has a report you do not want to miss. A one-on-one interview with lawmaker leading the impeachment hearings against Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. What he says the move is and it's necessary to do in order to fix the border.
Emergency crystals pop and fizz when you throw them back. And who doesn't love a good throwback? Emergency crystals.
What's my safe flight story? I'm a photographer, and when I'm driving, I see inspiration right through my glass. So when my windshield cracked, it had to be fixed right. I scheduled with Safe Flight Auto Glass. Their experts replaced my windshield and recalibrated my car's advanced safety system. Safe Flight is the one I trust. They focus on safety, so I can focus on this view.
Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022. And the threats go way beyond just credit card fraud. Today's identity thieves can open loans, transfer home titles, and even commit crimes in your name.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and was used for criminal activity.
Your information is exposed through online shopping, banking, even corporate data breaches. No wonder there's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats all in one place.
I clicked, "That's not me," and LifeLock took it from there.
If you become a victim, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix the issue. All LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds.
I will be with LifeLock forever.
Enrollment takes just minutes. Call now or go online and use promo code GET25 to save 25% on your first year. Enroll now.
For over 25 years, Lovesac has been rewriting the rules of comfort. It's okay to change your style. Get messy. Get immersed. With Lovesac, you make the rules.
I used to think all doctors were the same. Then I switched to Oak Street Health. You see, this isn't your typical doctor's office. Instead of waiting around for me to get sick, they focus on keeping me healthy and feeling good. Hey, still got it.
Zion. No sugar, right?
And the best part, everyone at Oak Street Health is experienced with people my age.
At Oak Street Health, we specialize in caring for older adults like you with a focus on keeping you healthy. So don't wait. Call today.
Zion, we're ready for you.
Here people get to know me the old-fashioned way.
By listening.
This guy takes all the notes, so my doctor is all eyes on me, and I'm never rushed out.
Ready to go?
We get to know you better with longer appointment times, including same-day and next-day appointments.
Everyone gets their own personal care team. And whether it's doctors, nurses, social workers, mental health support, even someone to help me understand my Medicare benefits, they all work together for me, myself, and I. Not to mention a 24/7 patient support line.
We customized a plan for him, and we can do the same for you.
Getting the care you need has never been easier because our team members work together to handle all your healthcare needs.
And you get all this with no extra cost. They even gather all your medical records and health history. So switching to their doctors is easy. And you can keep living your life your way.
At Oak Street Health, we specialize in caring for older adults like you. Call 800-637-1959 to schedule a visit and see why we are the only primary care provider to carry the AARP name. Oak Street Health.
House Republicans are beginning an impeachment inquiry against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas with a hearing scheduled for next week. This comes after a group of GOP lawmakers led by Speaker Mike Johnson toured along the Texas border with Mexico. Republicans have blamed Mayorkas and the Biden administration for the rise in migrants illegally crossing into the U.S. Correspondent Allie Bradley spoke with one of the lawmakers leading the charge against Mayorkas. She joins us live with more. Allie, this was a one-on-one that you had to help illustrate the trouble and the problems that they're having along the border.
Yeah, Nick, those problems along the border continue and happening today. The port here in Eagle Pass, after a month of being closed, that's resuming operations. So is the one in Arizona. So is the one in California. You talk about those problems at the border. This all comes after a record-breaking month of migrant encounters. And it's in part those record-breaking numbers why these Republican congressmen are trying to now impeach DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
This guy has abused his power to force his woke immigration agenda on the American people.
Homeland Security Chairman Mark Green spoke with us one-on-one about the committee's first impeachment hearings against DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. But some are saying with Mayorkas' removal, someone else will just be put in place to carry out the same mission for the administration.
The devil you know versus the devil you don't. I mean, I've heard of that expression, but still you have to do the right thing. And I have a duty to the people.
While that is something Congress is trying to get done, there has been no progress on securing the border on a federal level, something lawmakers in the hardest hit areas along the border say needs to change. The Tucson sector in Arizona saw the highest number of migrant crossings last month. CBP sources confirm more than 80,000 people streamed into the Lukeville area. Congressman Siscomani, who represents that district, made the trip to Eagle Pass yesterday.
The frustration with the administration is the same. As I hear the ranchers here speak and the local sheriffs, it's like if I'm hearing the ones back at home, frustrated with the situation.
The latest GOP delegation was the largest gathering of congressional leaders at the southern border, but it was one of many Republican-led trips. Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who represents much of Texas's border with Mexico, has hosted more than 20 now. What do you hope to come out of this one, or what can change from this code?
Yeah, showing up matters. I think that's already a win. We're about to go into these negotiations on funding the government, and I've been of the mindset no amount of money will end this border crisis. It has to be policy changes, and the fact that we've got so many members here showing the importance of border security, I think leads us into 2024 as we fight these battles.
Now, Nick, when it comes to those impeachment hearings, that's set for January 10th, that first proceeding. Now, you'll remember, though, that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to bring forth an impeachment inquiry against Alejandro Mayorkas, but that failed when 8 Republicans actually sided with the Democratic Party and basically voted that down. So when we talked with Chairman Greene, he says it will be different this time. He is confident that they'll be able to sway at least 5 of those Republicans to vote in favor of this impeachment this time around, Nick.
Allie Bradley with the latest from the border. Allie, thank you so much. Joining me now is Chad Wolf, former acting DHS secretary, joining us now. Mr. Wolf, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Chad, let's jump right in there and talk about what Allie just reported about the continued situation at the border and the 4 points of entry now operational again. She talked about Eagle Pass, Texas, Ysidro, California, Lukeville, Arizona, and Nogales, Arizona. Is this the right move?
Well, I think what you see along that border with over 300,000 illegal apprehensions in the month of December is astronomically high. The border's been in a state of crisis now for almost 3 years. It's not getting any better. In fact, it's getting worse. And I'm glad to see that ports of entry are starting to reopen. But the fact that you had to close them because you were moving personnel around to address and to process the minors, I think tells you that there has been a failed strategy here, and American communities, particularly along that border, but really everywhere in the country, are paying the price for it. So it's past time that the administration decides to change course, to actually enforce border security law, bring some deterrence back into the system, hold the cartels accountable. There's a number of things that can be done here. It just takes some leadership to do it, and we just unfortunately have not seen that, as I said, in almost 3 years.
Mr. Wolf, politics aside, where is the disconnect? Anyone on either side of the aisle can see that there's a problem at the border.
Yeah. Well, look, I think it's fundamentally the approach of this administration. They will continue to tell the American people that they want to administer an immigration system and a border security system that is consistent with their values, except when they define their values, it's an America or a U.S. that allows anyone to come into the border. They believe that U.S. is the only country that you can seek asylum, and then once you're here, they don't believe that you should be removed. And all three of those actually go against what is in immigration law and how we administer that system. And so I think it continues to build on itself, you know, from an ideological perspective, but also just a practical perspective. And if you go down, and I think that's what those GOP congressmen are doing. They're talking to the men and women of Border Patrol. What is it that you need to do your job and to secure this border? And I think what they're going to hear, because I've been down there, is very different than what is actually occurring today.
Chad Wolf, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and helping us put it in perspective. Have a good day.
All right, thanks, guys.
Ahead in our next hour, new reporting showing Hamas is using children on the front lines of the war. The strategy behind sending school-aged boys into combat.